Growing up, I had dreams and aspirations, but always felt like the kid that didn't fit in. For the most part, I wasn't a bad kid, but when I made the transition into adulthood, I turned to the streets for guidance. This led to getting locked up in juvenile hall, doing time in CYA, and eventually a 120-month sentence in federal prison. I had a lot of time to think and reflect during my federal sentence, so I share with you what I learned, hoping I can positively influence someone else's life with Prison Talk. Whatever you've heard about prison, you could throw it out the window, because if you go there, it's not going to matter. See, everybody handles lockup situations differently. Somebody who maybe deals with situations on the street with violence, they get to prison and they just snap. They assault and prey on anybody they feel they can violate. And then you got people who maybe feel like, hey, when I was on the street, I was trying to prove myself, so they get to prison and they try to prove themselves, and it ends up taking them down a dark rabbit hole. At the end of the day, just stay out of prison, man. So you don't have to go there to find out what it is you got to do to be who you need to be. Be all you can be on the streets. Don't go to prison and allow it to define you, because it will define you and it will make you into something that you may hate. And that's something that it makes you into. It may take you years to unmake that, because it's a program. It's no different than playing video games on the street. It's no different than practicing a sport every day or a martial art. You go to prison, it's a program. And the whole purpose is to mold you to that program, to reshape your mind and condition you to be a model inmate and to buy in being a convict. One of the things that I never hear anybody talk about is you lie to yourself every day in there. See, you lie to yourself because you are telling yourself that the food tastes good. Maybe you've had a laugh. Maybe you've enjoyed a good TV show, or you're playing a sport, or you're doing something. But you're lying because the underlying emotion is depression. No matter what you do in there, at least for myself, I was battling depression, man. I was depressed because at the end of the night, when you were in that fantasy thinking, oh man, I had a good laugh. I was over here maybe, talking with this guy, trying to learn something, to do this and that. When they tell them lock it down, you got to go lock it down. And reality kicks right back in. So every day it snaps you right back to the reality of prison, the lockup. And you might think, oh, it's no big deal, man. Shit. When you just sit back and just think about how precious life is, how beautiful the world is as far as opportunities, the ability to enjoy yourself, really focus on positivity, surround yourself around great people. Prison, you don't have that choice. You're in there with people, some of them been in there since they were 20 and now they're damn near 60, man. You got guys in there who have become grandfathers, great grandfathers, and the majority of their families have passed away, and they're hoping to get a date. They're trying to keep whatever little glimmer they have of hope. It's some straight shit, man. And so when I tell you youngsters out there, Put your hands up instead of picking up the gun. If you don't want to put your hands up, then go be a square, man. But you should still know how to defend yourself, but get you some coping mechanisms, man. Get you some skills in de-escalation, learn how to talk yourself out of situations. It's not soft. You're not a sucker. You're not a buster if you walk away from something. There's been multiple times where I've had a situation where if I would have said the wrong thing, I would have probably got my dome peeled. I just kept quiet. Yeah, oh yeah, you saw, yeah, whatever. I survived. I wasn't gonna let this other black man blow my head off. Be another statistic. Sometimes you gotta walk away, man. Sometimes you gotta walk away to live another day. Otherwise, you make a choice, and that choice can be something that takes you away from your family for decades. I've heard multiple stories where dudes didn't know how to fight or dudes got jumped and dudes got caught up in a situation and you got to think sometimes you got to know that hey man, this is I shouldn't be over here. I shouldn't put my I should have no business hanging out over here. This broad lives in these projects. I know there's these dudes over here. I shouldn't be over here. You gotta think. You go over there and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go over here, try to bust her cheeks. I'm gonna bring the strap. If these dudes tripping, I'm gonna bust on them because but I'm gonna let them know I'm not no punk. But I'm gonna come over here. Why even go over here? If you gotta worry about all that to get some cheeks, it ain't worth the cheeks, man. There's too many other cheeks out there. It ain't worth bringing a strap and worrying about trying to get out of there like a Navy SEAL so you don't have to, confront the ex-boyfriend or the baby daddy or somebody. It ain't worth it, man. There's a bunch of females I've seen that as far as when they show me who their exes are, I'm cool, especially if they got a kid by them. I'm not getting jumped coming over here to hook up with you or getting caught up or your ex-boyfriend. He's some notorious dude. Look, I'm cool. Oh man, look, it ain't worth me losing my life or getting jumped or beat up or having to put myself in a situation. I've left parties where I've looked around the party. When this is when I was young. When I was young, my foresight wasn't as good as it is now. But when I was young, 19, 18, I remember going to a party. I looked around. I seen what everybody was wearing. Some of the dudes with their, I'm like looking. I seen some other dudes. There's dudes. You look at some guys. They come to places and they're not coming there to try to talk to females. They're coming there straight to fight. These are cats who ain't never been out the hood but to put in work. They never leave a block. These dudes is ignorant beyond all means. All they do is hang out, do whatever they do in the block, But if they leave the block to get in the car to go with the homies, they're usually, they're the hitter, they're the trigger man, or they're ready for the shit. They're not even trying to talk to females. They don't have that type of game about themselves. And when I seen that and I left, sure enough, as soon as I left, they started whooping on all kind of dudes that came from the area I was from. They was jumping on dudes, 5-on-1, 6-on-1. I'm good, man. And now as a grown person, man, I see anything that looks out of place, I'm out. I go into a restaurant, I go into a bar, I'm sitting at a certain angle, I'm looking at the exits, I'm looking at the people in there, I'm looking at the walk, I'm looking at tattoos, I'm looking at the kind of shoes somebody got on, I'm looking at what kind of watches, I'm looking at who's grouped up with who, is it couples, is a bunch of dudes grouped up, you know, uh, do these guys, are they talking loud like they've been drinking all night? You got to pay attention, man. you know, I ain't going to no house parties or nothing no more. I mean, I'm so far beyond that. And I'm not going to go to any concert venues where I know it's going to be some bullshit. But for you young people out there, I know it's fun. I know, it seems cool. You want to be able to say you were there and blah, blah, blah. But it's not worth it, man. Sometimes you got to just be like, you know what? I'll pass. And you miss out on it, man. But you didn't really miss out on anything because something could have happened. And something usually does happen in those places. So be mindful of your actions And like I said, man, these people, a lot of them are lying to you about jail. There's a lot of things they don't tell you, man. And one of the biggest things that every day you're battling depression. Prison is a constant battle with depression, self-worth, trying to figure out your next move. I mean, but maybe the guys in the camps who have told on a bunch of people and they're, running around there and they got a couple months. It's no big thing. But if, for you guys who have, you get caught up and you have to do some serious time, man, and then the people you have to deal with on a daily basis, and even the guys in camps, those guys, they don't live such a rich life. Most of them dudes, man, shit. That's why they told on whoever they had to tell on to get the least amount of time. But them dudes up in there, some of them were suicidal, and that's and they're living in luxury up in there, for prison, cell phones, and they run around doing all kind of stuff. I mean, I've never been to a camp, but it ain't like a USP, or it ain't like a high, but it's definitely not what they tell you. It's very depressing. And the thing is, if you get too accustomed to it, then you become institutionalized. And it's even harder to uninstitutionalize yourself once you become institutionalized and you're dealing with a lot of trauma. There's a lot of deep trauma, man. There's a lot of trauma that you deal with in prison, stuff you see, things you can't unsee, and it's a horrible place, man. So I'm always trying to let you guys up. People like Big Hurt. How you gonna tell a young man who grew up in certain circumstances that he should, you know, learn how to fight or blah blah blah? Because man, otherwise you go to prison, you go to jail for committing some. Are you that? Are you that gung ho where you like, oh, Big Hurt? So you'd rather just shoot your way out of everything. Every time you want to get in a fight, you put yourself in stupid situations, or you're dealing with a situation. You can't talk to your parents. You don't have nobody, you can talk to. You don't have anybody who can console with. I mean, you'd rather just shoot it out or stab it out, and that's good enough. And then talk about it later in front of the judge. How stupid is that, man? Why not try to tell these people ahead of time? Look, man, don't do this and avoid this. I mean, it only makes sense. I don't get it, man. Oh man, you can't expect not every dude self defense. Not everything self defense. A lot of things you got to just be like, man, let me stay the hell away. If somebody's jumping on you, yeah, man, of course. Out here, I mean, Arizona, I see people all the time with guns. You jump on somebody, they're gonna shoot you. You mind your business, everybody else. That's a responsibility. Mind your business. People mind their business. But when you go looking for stuff and you put yourself in, you just got to think, man, like even out here, I'm not going to put myself in some neighborhood I don't know to go hang out at a house party or to go to a function where I don't have no business being over there. You just got to, oh man, it's just going down over there about, well, I don't need to be over there. Not at this, well, for what? I'm beyond trying to prove anything. And a lot of you guys, you ain't got to prove nothing either. So, man, think. Because once you get behind them walls, man, it's a totally different game, and you'll be lying to yourself every day saying you're not depressed, that this is not that bad. That's a lie. Oh, it's not that bad. I'm hanging out with the homies. Yeah, right. Big Kirk 916, positivity, motivation. You know where you know. Subscribe, share the channel, and I 916, and I would like to introduce you to Little Herc's Big Lessons. My wife and I decided to come out with a children's book series that encourages young children to be strong, to make good choices, and also teach valuable lessons. Lesson 2, Speak with Strength. At school, Little Herc's classmate Maria looked upset. The bigger kids were teasing her about her artwork. Hey, Little Herc said, stepping forward, Maria's art is awesome. Let's show some respect. The bigger kids shuffled their feet and walked away. Maria smiled at Little Herc. Thanks, Herc. You're always brave enough to stand up for what's right. Little Hurt felt proud. Speaking up is what strong people do. You can pick up the book, link in the description,
Never
share
settle
with
for
your
average.
kids.
Go to BigHurt916.com. Popos are coming. I gotta hurry up and wash my ass. Go to BigHurt916.com, pick you up a bar of soap, and wash your ass, or else you're gonna be under arrest too. Oh,